Wake up. It's the Flow Show, no filter. Taco Tuesday. The Diddy trial is heating up and everything is going exactly how I thought it would. We're going to get into it. More celebs being named, twists and turns and roller coasters. And join me for this ride on the Flow Show, no filter. Every day at 7:30 a.m. live on YouTube, also on Apple and Spotify 24/7 and Facebook. You can catch it anytime. But before I get into it, let me cover my ass. No Diddy. The thoughts, views, and opinions shared on the Flow Show No Filter are for educational and entertainment purposes only. I am not a professional. I am just good. Happy Taco Tuesday, y'all. Y'all know that's one of my favorite days of the week, other than Friday. Lot to talk about today. When it comes to this Diddy coverage, I'm kicking ass and taking names. So I hope everybody's taking notes. Man, I told y'all this was gonna be hell week for Diddy. And Mr. Told You So done told you again. A lot to get into it. We had the testimonies I told you of that we were going to be looking forward to. Dawn Richard or Richard. I'm hearing people say her names all kind of different ways. Carrie Morgan, best friend of Cassie, no longer best friends. We'll talk about that. And then they start getting into the snitches and the racketeering and the RICO, the meat of it. David James, Diddy's personal assistant for years, laid the foundation of the manipulation and the plot that Diddy had on not only Cassie, but every single young woman who came in his path. We're going to get into all of that. And like I said, it's so much information. Y'all know I usually like to come in with a story to break the ice, but we got to get right into this. No time for stories right now. Good morning to the breakfast crew in the building. Everybody, Wayne, C-Tuck, Megan, everybody in the building. I appreciate all of y'all. So we're going to go in chronological order as we normally do anyway. So Dawn Richard from Danity Kane, a former Danity Kane member, an alleged victim and witness to the many crimes that Diddy committed, allegedly. And this is what we all here for. This is what the case is about. Dawn came ready and prepared. And she gave some damning testimony. But one of the most damning parts of her testimony was she name dropped celebrities, and she talked about death threats, and which lays out the intimidation part of this whole thing, which also lays out how everyone around them involved in the company. These names aren't named just to be named. The names are named for a reason. And what people have to realize is this is a company, commercial, structured of manipulation and criminal activity, which is why they call it a criminal enterprise. This is not no simple domestic violence dispute that happens at your home or down the street at your neighbor's house. That's one of the biggest misconceptions of this case. I tell people, take this whole case and place it in your place of employment. And your boss is Diddy. And then now lay it out. Your boss is screwing all the help, especially the young girls, beating anybody that has anything to say about it, and threatening to take people's income and jobs away and keep their paycheck if they expose these crimes. And then your boss at your job does this for decades. Do you kind of understand how fast a case would come if your boss at your employment had freak offs with all his employees and beat the hell out of anybody that got in his way and used other employees of this company to help him cover up all of these crimes? And he went on Backpage and he flew in people promising them to work for your employment. But in order to work for your employment, you needed to participate in all of these freak offs. There's no sane person on the planet that doesn't understand that that company and that boss would be rotting under the jail much faster than Diddy. So without further ado, let's get into this. Now, I do want to say, before I forget to say, Westmoreland, I believe that's her name, the attorney for Diddy, she did an excellent job cross-examining Dawn, and she actually caught her up in a few inconsistencies. And why that could take a little bit away from Dawn's credibility, I'm going to explain to you why it's really not as big a deal, because I'm going to tell you why the prosecution even had her on the stand. But y'all know I give y'all the real. She's a black female. That attorney for Diddy, she did the best cross-examining out of any of his attorneys. She literally, although Dawn's testimony still was impactful because she named names that needed to be out there, and a few inconsistencies won't take away the fact that one thing she mentioned was Cassie was punched in her stomach in front of Usher, Neo, Big Daddy Kane, and another name we keep hearing, Jimmy Iovine. Now, that story, from everybody I've talked to, that story is 100% true. And so Dawn was put on that stand mainly to bring in more characters, and she did that. But I would not be doing my job if I don't let y'all know. Westmoreland, whoever that attorney is, she cross-examined the hell out of Dawn. And she did a good job. And actually, I think it was a mistake on the defense part by not having her actually be the one to cross-examine Cassie. But for Cassie, I'm happy that Westmoreland didn't do the cross-examination, because it would have been even tougher on her. And she already was 8 months pregnant. So God don't make no mistakes. And so I'm actually glad that Westmoreland didn't do it. But if I'm speaking for critically against the defense, that was an error, because Westmoreland, she knows what the hell she's doing. So let's get into it. This is coming from New York Post, and this is going to be our kind of coverage of Dawn. Then we'll get to Carrie Morgan's testimony, and then we'll get to David James. Title of the article: Usher, Neo, music exec Jimmy Iovine were at the restaurant where Sean Diddy Combs punched Cassie Ventura in the stomach. Y'all, I am so disappointed when I hear about all of these names of witnesses who are around to see this shit. It drives me up a wall. I can't even explain. It like makes my blood boil, because I cannot imagine being somewhere and seeing one of my peers, because at this point they're peers of Diddy. It's not like some, Jimmy Iovine, Usher. They're big enough names to say, man, what the hell are you doing? Stop it. Cut it out. I know I would 100%. I couldn't sit there and watch somebody just punch a 80-pound woman in her stomach in front of me. And so Usher, put them cherries up. I don't want to see he's serving nobody no more cherries and all of that. I'm going to need Usher to relax a little bit. I don't know about y'all, but especially all y'all females out there, y'all need to send Usher a little message, because Whether he was groomed or did whatever he did, he is far too quiet to be going concert to concert, acting like he's so much about women and doing all this feeding cherries and not saying nothing. Don't let him off the hook. Please don't. He needs to say something. These celebrities, for years, they have been able to just ignore stuff and just be, hey, I'm a celebrity icon. No. You need to be speaking on this shit. But I'm going to continue. So singers Usher and Neil and Hot Shot Music exec were at a restaurant when Sean Diddy Combs punched Cassie in the stomach, according to the dramatic testimony of Dawn Richard. Former Diddy Kane member Dawn was grilled by Combs' lawyer Nicole Westmoreland about her allegation that the Bad Boy Records founder attacked his then girlfriend at a West Hollywood, California eatery in 2010. She was a baby. You know how old Cassie was in 2010? Because I don't know, what is she, 30-something now? That was, 15 years ago? Y'all do the math. She was a baby, and you got this 40-year-old maniac punching her in the stomach in front of other celebrity men who didn't lift a finger nor bat an eye. Put them cherries up, Usher. Westmoreland pressed Dawn about why she hadn't divulged the A-listers, including industry honcho Jimmy Iovine. They all were there when Combs allegedly gut punched Ventura. Now, she got caught up in this, and I do blame the prosecution, or not even the prosecution. I blame Dawn's lawyer for not having her completely prepared, because this was an answer that you would have had to know that the defense would ask you. And to me, the simple answer would have been, I was in the middle of a music career that I sacrificed for, and Jimmy Iovine and Usher, they are heavyweights. And I feared that if I said something, I would be blackballed out of the industry. To me, that's like a real answer and an easy answer. But Dawn kind of got tripped over that. She kind of tripped over that question. Westmoreland said, any reason you left those individuals out when the government asked you the question? And then she said, Dawn said, she just asked me who was there. And then the defense said, why didn't you say their names? Dawn said, I'm not sure. She could have had a much better answer. But like I tell y'all, that's why I said we have to give Cassie all the credit in the world. It is not easy. And it's easy even for me. I'm not even throwing any shade at Dawn. I'm just critiquing what actually happened. But if you're not prepared for certain questions and you're on there being grilled by a top of the line attorney, it is very easy to get tripped up. I could get tripped up. So we need to give Cassie, for her to be on that stand for damn near a week, and for her to handle it the way she handled it, being 8 months pregnant and also having every piece of dirty laundry aired out, including her alleged cheating or those freak offs, just everything. She handled that as good as anybody on this planet could have handled that. And that's why I've been trying to drive that point home, because a lot of people don't realize how tough it is. And she deserves her flowers. Anyway, let's continue. Dawn left it unclear why she didn't say their name. Her testimony launched the second week of Combs' federal sex trafficking and racketeering trial, and it put another high-profile singer up on the stand after Ventura took the stand for several grueling days. Dawn was featured on the 2004 MTV show Making the Band, about Combs wrangling together the Diddy Kane group. She later sued him, claiming sexual abuse, and she allegedly witnessed him beat Ventura. Dawn followed Ventura as a witness for the prosecution. Also, when asked to identify Combs by prosecutors, Dawn pointed at him, prompting the disgraced human mogul to dramatically raise both of his hands. I don't know what that was about, but I did see the picture of the sketch. I guess it was a little banter or a little, I guess Diddy was trying to show his personality. I thought that was kind of strange. But shit, when you the king of the Astroglide and freak off blenders, and can I really call that strange? Can I really call putting your hands in the air in the middle of a trial when you're pointed at? I can't really call that strange. That's just natural, normal, itty bitty Diddy. Itty bitty Diddy behavior. And they did say it's itty bitty. Mr. Combs had threatened you, Westmoreland went on to say in her relentless questioning. You perceive the threats as death threats? You feared for your life? Dawn responded, yeah, I was scared. You're away from Combs in 2011, but then you come and ask him to work with him again? Westmoreland asked. Mm-hmm. Dawn responded. Dawn's testimony also added to the list of celebrities who made cameos in the trial. Now, to go back, that was another part that might not have went over too well with the jury. That was an excellent point that Westmoreland made right on the spot, and Dawn didn't have an answer for it. Like I told you, gotta call a spade a spade. Westmoreland did her thing, and it would have been a tough outing if Westmoreland would have cross-examined Cassie that whole week, because she is damn good. She is damn good. She is by far, so far, she's by far the best cross-examiner that the defense team, and it's not even close. So let's continue. She added, but we're about to get to the main reason Dawn was even on that stand. See, the prosecution knows that, just like we got all these little Mohawk Diddy creeps in the comments, star power matters. And as effed up and crazy as these things that Diddy has been accused of, and a lot of them have been proven, like the tape of him beating the hell out of Cassie. By the way, the pictures were released. If you go to TMZ, they showing all the pictures from Cassie, her busted lip and her bruise behind and all kind of stuff. It's gonna piss you off. But if you want to see the pictures and really see what that girl went through, go to TMZ. But my point is, even with all that, you still have a little pocket of creeps that are on Diddy's side. Why? Because star power matters. So the prosecution, to combat that, they are using their stars and their star power, whether they're calling out celebrities or they're having them take the stand. Which is why I said, even though Westmoreland caught up Dawn in a few inconsistencies in her story, it didn't really matter, because the main objective was for her to go up and tell what she saw happen to Cassie and what happened to her, and to call out the names of these many celebrities who were involved. And she did that. Again, star power matters. So she added to the list Usher. If you remember, Usher had lived with Combs in a New York mansion for a year as part of the Puffy Flavor Camp. I don't think there's one person listening to this podcast or one person watching me right now live in living color who would drop their 14-year-old off for a Puffy Flavor Camp. I say that with the utmost confidence. But Usher was an up-and-coming star at the tender age of 14, and his mama served him to a wolf in sheep's clothing. Mr. Sean Diddy Combs, a.k.a. Mohawk Diddy, a.k.a. the Diddler, a.k.a. Itty Bitty Diddy. with the little committee downstairs. Later, Howard Stern, during a 2016 interview, asked Usher about Diddy and what happened. And he said, I saw some things. He said it was pretty wild. It was crazy. There were very curious things taking place, and I didn't necessarily understand it, Usher went on to say. Howard Stern then asked Usher if he'd send his own children to the Puffy Flavor camp, which drew an emphatic response from Usher, and I quote, hell no. Hell no. Neo recently drew negative attention for his friendship with Combs. His ex-girlfriend labeled him Diddy Jr. See, all of this stuff is starting to rise to the top, and stuff that we might have cast to the side as just talk and gossip is now making its way into a court of law. And once things like this start making their way into the court of law, Neo might be need. Oh, he might have a name change. We shall see. We ain't gonna be calling him Neo no more. We gonna be calling him Nee. Oh, okay. So Dawn ended, dropped a few bombshells, dropped a few celebrity names, and did her job. Like I said, it was tough. Westmoreland is a hell of a cross-examiner, but Dawn still held her own. Get a little light, look a little dark. I'm looking a little Nino brownish. Okay, so let's go on to Carrie Morgan. Carrie Morgan is or was Cassie's best friend up until 2018, and we'll get into what happened there. Now, Carrie Morgan was also put up on the stand as somebody who witnessed what happened to Cassie, and also had her own, was victimized herself. Hey, Yanni. And so she said some damaging things on the stand, and I actually took some transcripts directly from. I'm gonna go quote for quote on her. So Carrie Morgan talked about how crazy Diddy was. She also spoke to the fact that Cassie did not smoke or drink, and if whatever, it was very, very, very minute, but pretty much they didn't smoke and drink when they lived together, and they met each other. Some type of doing some photos or something. But anyway, so she spoke to the fact that, and what her purpose was after her testimony, I realized her purpose was this. Her purpose was to paint the picture of Cassie before Diddy and Cassie after Diddy, to show the influence that she had, that Diddy had on her, to show that she didn't come to Diddy as a freak off, drug doing, sexual demon type of person. Before Diddy, Carrie Morgan painted the picture of a confident young woman who didn't do drugs, who was driven and had a spark. And she basically said once she got with Diddy, that spark was gone. And once she laid that picture, then now we get into the interaction of Carrie Morgan, Cassie, and Diddy. And it was crazy, just like everything else we've been seeing. So she talked about there were times that Diddy couldn't get in contact with Cassie. And this, what I'm about to say, is a pattern. She said that if Cassie didn't answer her phone or he wasn't able to reach her, he would sometimes call Carrie Morgan 50 times in a row. Diddy is more than just guilty, y'all. Diddy has a problem. Diddy has an addiction, and the addiction is just being evil. And being evil is the best way I can say it without going the fuck off and going on a tangent and getting off track. I'm trying to stay on track today. He's evil. And the reason why I say this is a pattern is because if you recall, like I told you, I don't just report, I recall. If you recall, when Don's lawsuit first hit, quite maybe 6, 7, 8 months ago, it was a while ago, he is on record of calling the other lady that was in Dirty Money, I believe, Harper or whatever. But Diddy called her, or somewhere around her, they said 100 and almost 200 times to get her on the phone and get her to put out a message siding with Diddy. Remember, I told y'all yesterday, everybody's impressed by how I'm predicting this and predicting that. But to be honest, Diddy is one of the easiest people to predict because he doesn't change his play up at all. We go all the way back to 2010. He calling Carrie 50 times in a row. That's psychotic shit. And we go all the way up until 2024, after his arrest, he behind bars and still figuring out a way to call somebody 200 times. This guy is sick. So, another thing she said that was very important. Prosecution asked her, and this is straight transcript, y'all. This ain't no article. I took her transcripts because I was like, I want to read y'all verbatim what was said on Carrie's testimony. Prosecution said, would others call you for him? Morgan said, yes. Christina Korm, a.k.a. KK. Prosecution, and I'm going to get to KK in a minute. Prosecution said, did you witness assaults? Morgan said, yes. First in the Hollywood Hills. Ruben, one of his security guards, was there. See, the people that's talking about they don't see no RICO, they don't see no racketeering, this is just domestic violence, they don't even know what they're seeing or reading, if they even bothered to read it. But that's why y'all got me. Because what they don't understand is the prosecution is doing what you're supposed to do. They're walking Diddy they're calmly walking him into deep waters, and then they're going to let him go and drown. And so everything being said is strategic. See, Carrie Morgan mentioning that Christina Korm called her for Diddy when they were trying to cover up and silence people when these wild crimes were going on. Christina Korm was Diddy's chief of staff. So she's showing that this criminal enterprise is working together to hide crimes, to intimidate, to silence. This is what RICO is, ladies and gentlemen. Christina Korm's name wasn't mentioned just because, hey, let me just throw names around. Her feet are to the fire. But she didn't stop there. When the prosecution asked Carrie Morgan, did you witness assault? She said, yes, in Hollywood. And she said, Ruben, one of his security guards, was there. So another employee of Diddy is being named as being there. Hey, Ruben, look for Ruben to be on the trial, on the stand at some point. See, the key component of RICO is everybody working together in this quote unquote company to help further these crimes. So to anybody saying, I don't see RICO, That's translation. I don't understand RICO. That's what you're really trying to say. See, what I already know what they think. Not only do I know that they don't understand it, but I know what they think. They think RICO, they just think drugs, gang violence, and murder and mayhem. That's not RICO. That's just the most popular form of RICO that you may know. RICO is a gang, a company, a group operating in a structured environment to not just do structured real business, but to operate in structure and work together to cover alleged crimes, to commit crimes. That is what RICO is. The prosecution is spelling it out and laying it out on a silver platter for you. But if you don't want to know the truth, or you're too lazy to just type it in Google, then that's your fault. Let's continue. Prosecution goes on to say, what did Mr. Combs do to Cassie? Carrie Morgan says he kicked her. And the prosecution said, what did she do? Carrie Morgan said nothing. She said, I told Ruben to do something he indicated he wouldn't. Damning testimony. So are you saying that Diddy's, this is me talking now, so you're telling me that Diddy's paid security is witnessing abuse, assault, and he's not securing anything? So if he's not doing his job and helping and indicating that he won't help, he is allowing this crime, assault, to continue. That's very interesting. So now, Ruben, you have a choice. You can tell us everything you know, or your ass can sit next to Diddy for at least about 10 to 15 years. What do you think Ruben gonna do? Let me continue. Because y'all, they don't understand me. I don't even know why I waste my time. It's over their head. But luckily, they ain't in the courthouse. They at home on the couch playing video games, Fortnite and shit. Let's continue, y'all. So, once she indicated that Ruben didn't do shit, she said, we left the house. Cassie and I were hiding behind someone's front steps. Y'all, Diddy got these young girls hiding behind steps, whispering, in fear for their life, in fear for their safety. Yet you have some that don't understand that there has been any crimes committed. Wow. Prosecution goes on to say, and the next time, Carrie Morgan says, it was in Jamaica. I saw him drag her by her hair 50 feet. I ran back to get my purse and my phones so we could leave. Prosecution says, what did you see next? Carrie Morgan says, I thought she was knocked out. Then she got up and ran into a wooded area. What happened next? There were two golf carts in the driveway. I got in one and Diddy got in the other. We went in different locations. Different directions, headed to different locations looking for Cassie. Prosecution says, did you find her? Morgan says, yes. Then we hid in a ditch, whispering. Y'all, when I tell you my blood pressure is up behind even reading this shit right now, because it's a combination of what a devilish jerk Diddy is, but then it's also a combination of all these assholes in the comments talking, I don't see anything wrong. This is just domestic violence. They ain't made no evidence. Like, what though? I don't even want to say it. But all I can say is I've already been a protective person to the almost. Now that could be an insanely protective person, especially when it comes to my son. But if God blesses me with a daughter, I told you I want a daughter. All of a sudden, my old ass want a daughter now. So I may be married and get a daughter and be one of them old parents at the graduation. Hopefully I live long enough. But if I had a daughter, if God blessed me with a daughter, it ain't gotta be my daughter, because it could be my niece, it could be my cousin, it could be a female in this flow community. If I hear about anything remotely happening to any of one of ours, I'm telling you right now, I'm crashing out. I'm going nuclear. I can't handle it. So when I see these creeps in the comments, I just say to myself, well, just make sure your ass stay in the comments. Because if you come bothering any of ours, I'm going to just leave it at that. I don't have to finish the rest. Y'all know me better than I know myself at this point. And you already know where I'm going to take it. So just stay your asses in the comments where y'all safe at. Because if you come bothering any female in our community, your ass is grass. I just want to make myself clear. Ain't no cute comments. It ain't about no cute comebacks in the comments. I'm telling you straight directly on this microphone. You bother one of ours, your ass grass. You ain't going to make no 20, 30 years like Diddy. You going to be done with that second. We on your ass. No Diddy. So let's continue. So I told you I'm not trying to get off into I'm just trying to stay on topic. So let me redirect, get back on top. Okay. Then they go on to say, what about the incident at Comstock? Apartment, Carrie Morgan, Cassie came back with a hoodie covering her face. Then Sean came and tried to get in, hitting the door with a hammer. I called D-Rock. Did he get in? No. Then the police came. This lunatic, not only is he beating the hell out of her, she finally finds safety, and he has a hammer trying to break down the damn door. Hell ain't hot enough for a person like this. It ain't a prison with enough bars for a person like this. Under the jail is too comfortable for a person like this. The police came. And once the police came, Cassie refused to say anything, but the police and the detective left them their card and left. Carrie Morgan said Cassie refused to show her ID and wouldn't cooperate because she was trying to protect Diddy. Now, they go on to say, did Mr. Combs ever assault you? Talking to Carrie Morgan. Carrie Morgan says, yes, he hit me with a wooden coat hanger and choked me. He done beat the hell out of Cassie, and now he working on the best friend. I don't think y'all heard me. He has beat the hell out of Cassie, and now he's turned his focus on beating the hell out of her best friend. Y'all, I ain't got time for this today. This is a tough one today. I can't take too much of beating. This is not what I ain't good at this. I ain't good at sitting back and even reading about this type of shit. None of my friends don't play that. None of my family don't play that. We don't play that. We the type of family, my uncles, when we had businesses and little mom and pop restaurants, real quick, I'm gonna be quick. But when our women got off work, they used to close down the restaurant, and it would be about 9, 10 o'clock, and they would come out, close the restaurant, and walk out. I have the type of family where 3, 4 of my uncles would drive up there and sit outside just to watch the women in our family walk out to their cars and do that shit every night. I got the type of family, if one of our women in our family have an issue, all my uncles and father and cousins breaking their neck to see who gonna get there first. And it's 5 or 6 people pulling up just to see what's going on. So I was raised like that. We don't play about our women at all. So these little Mohawk Diddies in the comments, they would never feel comfortable around me or my family. Never. Because even when we meet you, we give you a handshake. We very respectful, but you already know this ain't the family. You want to be doing this Diddy shit with our women. 100%. So this is why I'm the way I am. This is how I grew up. We protected our women. If a man was around and you ain't do nothing, oh, my uncles and cousins would be dogging your ass. We didn't play. So, like what Beyonce say, on the male side, we got information about ours. So it's really hard for me to read this, and I really want to know where were the real men at in this equation. But anyway, after he bashed her in the head with the hanger, they said, well, what did he express concern about? They said who Cassie was cheating with. He doing all this because she won't tell on her best friend or divulge whatever information she may or may not have even had. But you feel so entitled, so narcissistic, so devilish that you feel like you could just crack people upside the head whenever you want to. Y'all, Diddy done fucked up my Taco Tuesday. Y'all know I love Taco Tuesday. And Taco Tuesday is always the day of the week besides Friday when I'm in a good mood. And I was in a good mood until I started reading this shit. And here I am now. Morgan went on and added that Combs was talking about Cassie cheating on him, and she grabbed her personal things and left. She said she went to urgent care for a concussion. Diddy handing out concussions. This ain't Cassie we talking about. This is Cassie's best friend. What type of domestic violence is these people talking about where everybody, all the employees get their ass whooped? That ain't domestic violence. That's way deeper. Get a clue. She was dizzy. She vomited several times. She hired a lawyer. She didn't file a lawsuit. But what is the theme that we've been hearing? Diddy threw money at it. I believe Interscope may have even helped. If they didn't, Diddy for sure threw money at it, and that story was buried. Just ridiculous testimony, ridiculous things to hear. But I believe Carrie Morgan's testimony was flawless. The only thing they tried to catch her up on, I think Agnophilia, was the one that did the cross. They tried to say like, well, if y'all were friends for however long, 2 decades almost, after 2018, how could y'all just not speak? And Carrie said, well, Cassie never called me. Why should I call her? It was one of those type of things. We've all been through that. And so I guess he thought did something when he said that. To me, that was a big nothing burger. But hey, so to me, Carrie Morgan's testimony was pretty much flawless and very damaging. She didn't really have any bumps in the road, and like I said, the few things that I believe it was agnophilio. Don't quote me on that, but whoever cross-examined her on the defense, they didn't really have much. So wasn't much to talk about. But we have to get to the bombshell because, like I told you, Dawn, Cassie, Carrie, and the security guard from the hotel incident, these were all witnesses to help lay the foundation. See, I used to do contracting, and I would, build houses, renovate houses, all type of shit. I was the mastermind though. I didn't actually do the work. I just mapped it out and, marketed and got the contracts. But when you build a house, you have to take your time and make sure the foundation is right. You can't worry about people keep coming over to the land and the property and saying, dang, when you gonna put the house up? Because when you're doing the foundation, you don't really see, it don't look like nothing's being done. So people that don't have patience or don't understand the process, they will try to rush you. They'll keep coming back to the house a week later and it just looks like the same, even though you are building the hell out of that foundation. Because if the foundation is weak, I don't give a damn. You can build the Taj Mahal from the ground up and it's going to crumble. And so what the prosecution did is they took their time and they built the foundation. Now, the people who don't have foresight or vision or have the attention span of a goldfish, they're the ones saying, I don't see racketeering. Where is this? Where is the trafficking? Where is this? Where's the RICO? Slow down. We're getting there. We had to build the foundation first. And that's what they did with all of these previous witnesses. Now they're going into the meat of it. And that's when you start talking to the quote unquote snitches, talking to the people who were closest to Diddy. Not the fake Diddy, who was trying to be the loving, caring father, man, king, black excellence. That's what Cassie and Dawn all got as far as public. But in private, we know it was a different story. But see, the assistants, the security guards, they know where the bones are buried. Why? Because more than likely, Diddy had them bury them. They know all the sneaky, underhanded tactics Diddy did to track down Cassie or track down different women or bury certain cases. Why? Because 99.9% of the time, they were the ones who did the fucking work. So if they jumbled all this together in the first week or two because they're trying to prove to these couch surfers that they're trying to prove their case in 2 weeks, this is a 10 to 12 week case at this point. What would they do for the rest of the 8 to 9 to 10 weeks that we're going to sit here? To all the geniuses in the comments talking about they ain't seen RICO, they ain't seen racketeering. What would we do for the next 10 weeks? If they threw every card, every piece of evidence like you expect, and they proved every aspect of all 5 charges. This guy got 5 charges. If they did all that in a week and a half, less than a week and a half, actually, what the hell would we do for 10 weeks? Use some common sense, people. They built the foundation, but now we have the first actual quote unquote snitch. And he is telling everything. He was only on the stand. We talking about David James. He was only on the stand what from the transcript seems like 20 minutes. He was kind of like at the end. As a matter of fact, it was so close to the end that I didn't even know if they would get to him, but they got to him. And surprisingly, this is how quick it was. They actually ended it. They ended early yesterday because the prosecution wanted to end and thought it was a great place to end. So today he's going to be starting fresh. But let me get into what David James told. David James made a few key statements. One key statement was he talked about how he was hired, and then he talked about the long hours and the expectations from Diddy. Remember, we talking about forced labor, effed up labor laws and practices. He talked about that they work 20 hours a day, 6 days a week. They had 4 hours a day to rest, to take care of their own business, to shower, shit, shave, all of that. 4 hours. 20-hour days. He also made another key statement in his short time on the stand. He gonna be lighting their ass up today. I guarantee y'all that. I told you this week was hell week for Diddy, and have I ever lied? They call me Mr. Told You So for a reason. He also said the security would always tell me to stay in my lane. And for those who don't know what the hell that means, turn up your volume. See, stay in your lane means if you see some shit, don't say some shit. Just stay in your lane, get your money, and focus on preparing Diddy's cheese toast in the morning when he asks you, and clean up this freak off baby oil Astro Slide mess when we need you to. But if you see anything, any assaults, any drugs, any this, any that, don't say nothing. In other words, stay in your lane. Again, every detail that's being said on the stand is intentional. But if you have the attention span of a goldfish and don't read, it might as well be pig Latin to you. And you're going to say stuff like, I don't see no racketeering, no RICO. Because you're getting your trial advice or your trial takes from Lil Bootsy. Guarantee you Lil Bootsy ain't read one fucking word of the indictment. But you listening to him. And so David James, then he got quickly to which was the prelude to Diddy's demise. Because if anybody is aware of how RICO goes and RICO cases go, dating all the way back to the mafia, who I've told you before in previous episodes, the mafia is why this whole RICO thing, why they even invented RICO. Because they were tired of the big bosses able to call out all kind of hits and this and that. And only people who were getting arrested and jailed in prison were the, I don't want to say peons, but let's say the peons who carried out, the crimes. They couldn't attach the bosses because they didn't get their hands dirty. So the American came up with, we got some shit called RICO. And that way we can charge everybody. I don't care if you didn't get your hands dirty. If we can trace the call back to you, meaning you made the call, you're going down. So that's where RICO even came from. So in most, if not all RICO cases, the most damaging evidence and the most damaging people are the quote unquote snitches. So if you're watching a RICO case and you ain't seen people who literally work directly with the main boss, this would be Diddy. If you haven't heard them speak yet, the trial ain't even started yet, baby. A RICO trial don't even start till them snitches get on the stand. Did you watch American Gangster with Denzel Washington? They could not catch up those bosses. They had so much trouble bringing them down until one of the main people who worked with them directly started sitting down and he started pointing at pictures and he started putting the whole thing together. Frank Lucas, biggest snitch of all time. And so that's where we at right now. And David James said the most damning thing up to this moment. And I'm going to read it to you. And it hit so hard that the prosecution said we could end it early right here, Judge. If you feel like this is a good place to end, let's end it right here. And she said, David James said this. Mr. Combs, he overheard a conversation where Mr. Combs said, Kim is my queen. Now, if you remember, Kim Porter is the mother of Diddy's children who eventually mysteriously passed away from pneumonia. Kim is my queen. She's out in LA with my family. Then he went on to say, I have Cassie right where I want her. She's young and moldable. Again, if you don't understand this case, you don't understand the charges, that statement don't mean much to you. But you ain't my target audience because you don't understand. You wouldn't understand. But to my target audience, this was a death blow. Court normally ends between 4:30 and 5 o'clock. This took place around 3:30. Prosecution said, this seems like a good place to end, Judge. If you would allow us, we could end the day here. Ladies and gentlemen of the Flow Show No Filter, I'm going to break down this couple of sentences that will be the marking of when the house of cards began to officially fall. The foundation was built. Now you're seeing the house come, and they're going to come, and they ain't going to build it like the old school with all the wood and the framing and this and that. Oh, it's about to pick up. They about to do the new school stuff. Once the foundation laid, they about to come transport, bring the whole house, and boom, whole house there. See, this statement right here outlines the whole cornerstone to what RICO, racketeering, sex trafficking, and all that tied in. This is the cornerstone. See, this shows intent. See, the defense wants you to believe this is just a boyfriend and girlfriend consensual situation, right? But with this statement right here is exactly the contrary. And before people say, well, he's just him saying it, they're going to corroborate this with all type of people are going to come forward that worked for Diddy that are going to say, yeah, that's how Diddy felt. Yeah, Diddy told me that. So this is just the beginning. But this is the total contrary to what the defense is saying, because this is Diddy out of his own mouth saying, Kim is my queen. Even though we all know he beat the hell out of Kim Porter, but that's a whole nother thing. We'll get to that another time. Kim is my queen. That is my family. In other words, that is my real relationship. Cassie is just an object that I can mold, aka groom. Molding, grooming, pretty much the same. I can groom to fulfill my deviant sexual pleasures. And now they will get more people to corroborate this. This statement supports the government's effort to prove that Combs orchestrated a pattern of control and manipulation over young women, especially Cassie. The phrase young and moldable isn't just a casual thing you just say about someone you love. It's a damning revelation. The prosecution is setting up the narrative that Cassie wasn't just a partner, but someone who deliberately was targeted and shaped to fulfill Combs's desires, psychologically, sexually, and professionally. I'm gonna need all the podcasters and YouTubers to get your pens and pad out and take notes. This is how you cover a case. It also, not only did it show the grooming, it showed predatory intent. It showed that Diddy viewed her as an object to be controlled rather than a consenting equal. That alone supports the sex trafficking claims, especially if they argue she was exploited for others' benefit or coerced into sexual acts, aka freak-offs. And we take this total opposite when he mentions Kim is my queen, the mother of my 3 children. This shows the duality, which is also a cornerstone to RICO. Public persona, loving family man, private reality, abusive manipulator of young women. That will show how Combs uses criminal enterprise to maintain a clean image while engaging in secret criminal behavior, aka racketeering, aka RICO. Now, they have opened the door for future witnesses in this case, which include ex-employees, friends, victims. They all can be used to corroborate this pattern that is set forth by these little bitty 2 sentences made by some lowly assistant that will go over a lot of people's head because they don't study this shit like I study this shit. Well, what if Combs' legal team tries to argue that Cassie was a willing participant? Well, this quote severely hurts that claim. And you know why? This hurts that claim because it suggests that she was chosen because of her vulnerability, not because Diddy saw her as an real wife, girlfriend, and equal. No, this claim, if they have more people to attest to this claim, it will again show that she was chosen because of her vulnerability, not because he saw her as a real wife. And then when you add that up with the forced acts, the manipulation, the coercion, you're looking at somebody who's about to be up the river. What my granny used to say, up Shit's Creek with no paddle. I didn't know what the hell that was. I know what it is today. I know what it is today. So again, that might be in a little quote, but that quote is the keystone in proving the manipulation, grooming, and control, all of which support the racketeering and sex trafficking charges. And by pausing after that, the prosecution made it clear that this is the pivot point in their case. And I told y'all that was an emotional cliffhanger for the jury. And for somebody like me, all I did was sit back in my chair and say, damn, this prosecution is doing their thing. So, did I not tell y'all this would be hell week? Did I not tell y'all that they were just laying the foundation? Did I not tell y'all the meat of this? And when we're really about to get started is when they start interviewing or or giving a cross-examining and examining and getting testimony from these assistants. And when they finally got to the first quote unquote snitch, who is a former bartender, well, a bartender for Diddy. And like I said, I don't know if he's gonna get into putting stuff in their drinks or whatever. I don't even know about that. He could, he might not. I don't know. But what I do know is they had plenty more time to question him. The prosecution did. Like I said, it was only 3:30. They go to 4:35, 4:30 to 5 p.m. every day. That's when they've been closing. They had like one or two other days when they ended early. But for them to only ask a witness like this only a few questions and then end early on that particular note, that's the death blow. And now, every name you hear from here on forward for the next couple weeks, few weeks, however long, they are all going to drive home this point that Diddy clearly said, clearly made it known to those involved in his inner circle that Cassie was just a young chick that he could groom to be exactly what he wanted. His first step was signing her to a 10 album deal, which was her whole career. The next step was making her believe he was sincere, just like he made us all believe he was sincere when he was, I'm love this and I'm all about love and my people and black excellence. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, you are the freaking devil. And once he got Cassie where he wanted her, he dangled that carrot for 11 years until she finally realized she wasn't going to ever get that carrot. And by the time she realized it, Diddy had sucked every bit of life out of her. And he went on to do that shit with other victims. We have more victims. So to say this is merely a domestic violence case, it is not only lazy, it is not only careless, but it is insensitive. It shows that you lack the ability to critically think. And last but not least, it just shows you an asshole. Ladies and gentlemen, on the Flow Show, No Filter. Today, at the close of this show, David James is about to get his ass back on that stand and light that fucking courtroom up today. Remember, I told you that. Remember, I told you that. I had so much more to talk about. And so let's give a little prelude of what's going to be going on today in this case and what to look for. David James, the one who just dropped a bomb, a hell of a cliffhanger, the one who laid out everything that's going to tie in all this racketeering. Because once David James does his thing and they speak to whatever assistance they need, then they're going to start calling the security people. I've heard from someone who's inside the court, who was inside the court and has been inside the court. She is a very valid source. They are about to call the chef. The chef beat the hell out of Diddy beat the hell out of the chef. Another female, I believe her name was Jordan Asterson. Let me look it up. Let me see, because I took the notes. Also, someone else we're gonna be hearing from very soon. A woman by the name of Regina Ventura, better known as Cassie's mom. We have a law enforcement person, Gerard Gammon. We'll hear from him. Oh, and the someone named Sade Hayes, and also the chef is Jordan Atkinson, but I've heard her use another last name. But if you look up Jordan Diddy's chef, since the clips aren't loud enough for y'all to hear, I can't play it. But former security guard Roger Bonds recalled a time when the chef Jordan Chanton, see, that's the other last name I've been heard her call it, Jordan Chanton, the time that Diddy beat the hell out of that chef. They will be speaking. Diddy kicked everybody's ass, and I'm not talking about none of the, you notice none of the security guards, he never put his hands on them. He never put his hands on anybody that could put their hands back on him and do damage. But if you were a female and you worked for Diddy, chances are he put his hands on you and then he wrote a check. But they got physical, and you're going to hear from them. Hell Week is upon Diddy, and I'm glad, because this has been this as much as I thought I knew about Diddy and how horrible of a POS he was, I had to be honest with y'all. I had no clue that it was this bad. I had no clue that it was this bad. I told you, when I met Diddy, when I was doing my thing and I met him, y'all, it's on TikTok. It's an old video, but I said when I met him, it was weird because Manny introduced us. Manny was Keisha Cole's manager and then also my manager at that time. And he said, let me take you over here and meet Puff. This was like 2005 or 6, something like that. And this was around the time when the Last Night Keisha Cole record was out, and it was just like blowing up everywhere. And so when Manny introduced us, he was like, yeah, this Flo's my artist. He doing his thing. I'm thinking he just going to say, nice to meet you or something. I like gave him dap, kind of leaned in, and he was like, you heard that the new record I got with Keisha is crazy. And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself like, yeah, but damn, I ain't really, you Puff that. I ain't expect you to say that. And then he was looking at me, and I told this story even a couple years ago on TikTok. The way he looked at me, I was like, what the fuck he looking at me like that for? But I was like, maybe I'm tripping. But you know what I did? I got the fuck on. See, I'm not impressed as much as I was a Puff Daddy fan, biggest fan at that time. But I don't kiss no ass, ever. I shook his hand. I told him, yeah, the record is crazy. I didn't like the way he was looking at me. It just felt weird. And I walked away. And that was the only interaction I ever had with him. But now that I know all of this, he seems like the type of person that was looking at me like that, wondering, and if I would have been wanting to engage in more conversation, he'd have fucked around and tried to have me in some freak off shit. But I immediately just didn't feel right. And I was glad, hey, look, I met Puff. That's a good thing. Hey, I always, before all this happened, was somebody I would want to meet. But immediately, I left him and Manny there to talk amongst themselves. I don't like when no grown man, if a grown man look at me and I don't understand the way he's looking at me, I'm either gonna say something or I'm just gonna walk away. And that wasn't the environment for me to say nothing. And plus, I didn't know if I was tripping. I didn't know if I had a drink or two and maybe I was like reading into stuff too much. But now that I have the ability to be a Monday morning quarterback, meaning I get to look back on that situation and think about all this stuff that went on, he was definitely looking at me like a weirdo, like a creep. And see, they think that most people are so thirsty for fame, they just come with that energy of I'm ready for whatever. I told y'all, I was always respectful. I always worked hard. I did want to be a rapper at that time. I was writing music and everything for people, but I was never somebody that would get outside of my character or go outside of my beliefs, not even a centimeter for nobody. So I just left. Right after I met him, right after he said that weird statement, and then he looking at me all crazy, I just walked away. I didn't walk away with no attitude. I didn't walk away. I just casually walked away. But in my mind, I was like, oh, something was weird about the way. First of all, that statement I told you I've always been the type to like read into everything. And like most of the time I'm right. And I'm like, what the fuck he telling me about this record? Like, no kidding. This record is playing everywhere. It's number one. You saying it to me like I ain't heard it, or like I didn't, like I said, it just seemed I got a hell of an antenna and it just raised my antenna. And then like I said, then he was looking at me all weird. Then I was like, yeah, I'm fucking out of here, y'all. So anyway, we are going to get into what's going on today. Like I said, look for the chef, look for Cassie's mom eventually. I don't know if I can't say it'll be this week, but I know very, very soon Cassie's mom is expected to take the stand. And I know we are expecting to hear from that chef. And we're definitely, like I said, this David James guy, the bartender that I told you about, slash what was it? He was a bartender, but he also was a just his assistant that did all the Diddy's dirty work. He about to tell it all. And I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna do the same thing on his testimony. I'm gonna do his testimony just like I did Carrie Morgan's. I'm gonna get a transcript and I'm gonna take all his key things that he said so I could come back tomorrow and give you all the exact breakdown of what he said and what his answer was and what I thought about it. And then the New York Post did a quick article I want to go over, just to give you a little more context on this guy. Like I said, this is going to be one of the most important witnesses because he's going to set the table for now as they really dig into the criminal enterprise and really explain to everyone and to the world and to the most importantly the jury how Combs used his employees to not only carry out his criminal enterprise but to mold a young and impressionable Cassie. Now, David James worked for Bad Boy from 2007 to 2009. He first met. He was also tasked to handle Cassie's music stuff, but you already know the reason why he was put in that place was because he was going to do everything that Puff, or AKA Diddy, wanted him to do. He knew about all Diddy's girlfriends. He named them all right off the top of his head: Sarah, Tara, Cassie, Kim. But he even said Miss Porter was his main girlfriend. And again, 2018, Miss Porter died of pneumonia. So this is going to be damaging. Please look out for it. he explained, he even went into explaining how Diddy paid for the apartment and kept Cassie under control through that. They released the pictures, all these crazy pictures of her showing all her bruises. So I encourage y'all to pay special attention today. Today is when this trial really begins, and ain't nothing else to say. But let me thank the subscribers before we get out of here, the ones who make this possible, that allows me to talk candidly and speak to what is really going on. So I would like to thank Allison McGowan and also Maureen Rossi. And last but not least, somebody I forgot to get to, Ann Harrison for the $3 donation, and Sonia Escobar for the $3 donation. Thank you, everybody. I am planning on getting out to New York the day after Memorial Day, which is like what is it, a week from like about what, 10 days from now, whenever. Y'all know Memorial Day is like 7 to 10 days from now. I don't got a calendar in front of me, but I plan on getting out there in New York. So all my VIP $23 subscribers will be firsthand on the go with me, streaming live. I also have a big interview with Mark Curry, the original whistleblower, a rapper on Bad Boy, who is giving me an exclusive interview. And I'm already telling y'all the stuff he's already told me is jaw-dropping. All of y'all will get that access to that. Other than that, if you want to subscribe, it's in the notes. And my regular subscribers, you will get exclusive content. Once I put it all together and prep it and edit it and do all of that, I will release that to all subscribers. So everybody's appreciated. Nothing else to say but bye. As always, I love y'all, but I'm out. Breakfast crew, what's up? Let me give everybody my shout outs before I get the hell out of here. I love each and every one of y'all. Let's see what we had in here today. Kobe, what up, Kobe? Yari, good morning. Drew Rob, what up, Tracy? Uncle Jerry, Megan, Debbie, Tracy, Wayne, C Tuck, Not Dreamer, woo, 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 Lily, Yari, Rachel. Thank you for the super sticker, Not Dreamer. Steph, what up? Good morning. Angela, hey, Angie. Tracy, Silas, Guinea, we getting deep. Carly, Cliff, Angie, that's another Angie. Toby, what up, big dog? Woo, 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 woo. Brooklyn, Joy, hey, girl. Who else we got? We got y'all deep today. Kathy, where you been at? Kristen, hey. Portia, Brandon, thank you for the super sticker, Stephania. I know you told me how to pronounce it. I'll be forgetting, but you are such a sweetheart. Thank you for the super sticker. Let me throw it all up on the screen. Bonnie, Chris G, Monica, Chris, Felicia. Hello. Kim, what's up, Kim? Valerie, Emily, Joelle, Felicia. If I say your name twice, it's your lucky day. Kristen, Akani, Sherry, Courtney, Portia, Chef Diaz of Alex Fresh Kitchen. Hello. Everybody, let's get to our mouths. Chris G, thank you. Let's get to our mouths. I appreciate y'all. Big day in the case. I got to get to work, but let me get to our mouths. There we go, Ebony. There you go, Ebony. I need that out. I need that outstretched like Ebony's. Come on, let me get a couple more I'm outs, and I'll be ready to get to work. There you go, C Tuck. C Tuck is long, no Diddy. I like your I'm out. It's long, no Diddy. Hey, Chef Kitchen, Chef Diaz of Alex Fresh Kitchen says I'm Memorial out. All right. Okay, Laura, I'm out. I will see y'all. Much love. I love y'all. But I'm out.